The current economic operating system you were trapped in is running on a fatal, unfixable bug. This absolute reliance on artificial intelligence to predict the future is the direct equivalent of driving a vehicle at 300 kilometers per hour while exclusively staring into the rearview mirror.
Wait, hold on a second. The rearview mirror is the only mathematical tool we actually have to safely navigate forward. You cannot classify predictive algorithms as a bug when they represent the necessary evolution of big data.
It is not an evolution.
I mean, corporations spent decades building these massive data lakes to capture your preferences and...
Big data was never a functional foundation for anything. It was a massive, unmanageable garbage mountain. Corporations hoarded endless exabytes of human interactions, and they quickly realized they completely lacked the physical computing capacity to actually sort or understand any of it.
But AI processes those historical oceans of consumer information to give you what you want. It is faster and cheaper and...
AI is a fully automatic shredder. Listen to me. It is designed to process the corporate garbage mountain so fast that nobody notices the inputs are entirely worthless. Instead of admitting defeat and restructuring their physical operations, they plugged in generative algorithm as a magic wand.
Well, it streamlines the absolute chaos of human behavior into actionable foresight. I mean, it allows the market to function at a global scale, which ultimately benefits you as the consumer.
Your definition of foresight is pure escapism from the physical management of resources. The predictive models mapping out your future currently are mathematically less accurate than yesterday's forecaster proudly stepping up to a podium an hour after a hurricane to announce there was a 100% chance of rain.
That is just not true. They absolutely do not ignore physical reality. I mean, AI maps out biological market demands. Look at how corporations use AI agents and synthetic users in market research. It saves massive amounts of physical time and capital.
They completely ignore physical reality. They are not seeking accuracy or efficiency. They are desperately trying to eliminate the unpredictable, costly reality of actual human beings.
That simulating thousands of consumer profiles bypasses the immense friction of traditional human polling. It makes the end product infinitely cheaper for you without the slow, inefficient drag of physical focus groups. The algorithms simulate variations of your demographic in milliseconds.
Using synthetic users to predict market demand is the absolute equivalent of practicing a date 10,000 times in front of a mirror. You calculate every possible angle, you perfectly predict your own reflections' responses, and you convince yourself that you are the absolute, undisputed, perfect master of love.
It is built directly on aggregate behavior, though. It is a highly sophisticated extrapolation of actual market desires that functions at a statistical scale the human brain just cannot comprehend.
It is a lonely king putting on a one-man show. The very second, a real, unpredictable, messy human being sits across from you, that calculated perfection shatters instantly. The simulation completely lacks the entropy of a living organism.
When an AI agent tests a product, its parameters are strictly defined by decades of authentic human purchasing history. That history does not just evaporate.
The authentic human history you are clinging to evaporated completely by the year 2026. The internet's reservoir of authentic, high-quality human data dried up. We are experiencing terminal model collapse.
But wait, AI is scraping the internet constantly. It is ingesting massive volumes of data to train its next iteration.
It is ingesting fake AI-generated data. It is actively scraping its own output. You are failing to grasp the mathematical mechanics of this failure. The statistical variance of real human behavior is being mathematically clipped, compressing the model into a sterile digital echo chamber.
Even if there is some digital looping, the deployment algorithms are still tied to logistics and shipping lines and global agriculture. They keep the global economy moving.
It is the absolute equivalent of a terrible chef who decides to serve plastic food samples to his restaurant patrons. He points to his algorithmic spreadsheet and proudly declares to his investors that customer complaints have dropped to absolute zero.
That is a total exaggeration. AI tracks actual physical consumption in the real world. It provides the vital infrastructure that ensures actual wheat and steel reach actual shelves.
He has completely stopped the true physical circulation of market feedback, substituting it for pure digital self-satisfaction. It is like a child boasting about 100 consecutive victories because they only ever play against themselves.
But it connects to reality because it is fundamentally responsible for distributing the physical goods that keep human beings alive. It cannot be entirely disconnected from the physical world.
It connects solely to the digital footprints of the wealthy and actively deletes the physical suffering of everyone else as mathematical noise. You are entirely failing to comprehend the concept of survival maintenance cost.
A reactive economic system optimized by AI is still vastly superior to a blind manual system. It identifies shifting consumption patterns and redirects resources to where they are demanded by the population.
The algorithm tracks purchasing power, not physical necessity. If a person is struggling, if they are experiencing actual physical pain, hunger, and economic friction, the AI does not register their empty stomach as a market factor.
It measures human reaction in real time and calculates the logistical friction to prevent systemic shortages. It adjusts the flow of capital accordingly.
A starving human being with zero capital generates no digital signal. The algorithm actively categorizes their biological poverty as an outlier and deletes them for the sake of a smooth, efficient graph. Attempting to measure the physical survival needs of a population using economic algorithms is identical to trying to measure the distance to a galaxy using a plastic math set rule.
But the algorithm continuously identifies the shifting needs of the global population. It optimizes the logistical pathways to ensure resources get to where they are needed most.
Its measurement of human reaction lacks any biological context or physical empathy, which mathematically guarantees atrocities. Picture a drowning person desperately screaming for help in the ocean. Your optimization algorithm processes the audio, strips away the biological panic, and translates that desperate cry for survival as an enthusiastic reaction to the latest water activity.
But people still have biological agency. Even if the aggregate data is temporarily blind to systemic poverty, the final mechanism of this market rests entirely on human cognitive choice.
The system tags the data and says, look how passionate they are about the ocean. This is the direct mechanical outcome of an unmanned economy.
When an AI pushes a recommendation or attempts to engineer a trend, you still make the active conscious decision to purchase. You assess your own physical needs and financial boundaries.
The perfect everyday illustration of this unmanned economy is the modern smart fridge. It scans its interior, notices you have not purchased groceries in 2 weeks, and instead of recognizing the physical reality that you are completely broke, it cheerfully decides that you simply have no appetite and recommends a highly optimized fasting routine.
But you can ignore the fridge. Consumers ignore targeted advertisements and algorithmic nudges millions of times a second. Humanity retains the undeniable veto power over what it physically consumes.
For you, living trapped in this existing capitalist model, your physical pain and your biological limits literally cannot be calculated by the system. It is identical to the logic of a driver who sees the empty fuel lamp glowing brightly on the dashboard, completely ignores the physical reality of the engine, and presses the accelerator to the floor because the predictive software claims they can still drive another 50 miles.
They evaluate the utility of a product and discard it if it lacks value. People are perfectly capable of rejecting a trend that does not serve their physical needs.
Your definition of human free will is nothing but algorithmic domestication. You are describing your actual degraded role in this existing system. You are an excellent, highly compliant resource consumption terminal.
Following an AI recommendation is not domestication. It is utilizing a tool. We are not mindless programmable terminals just waiting for digital instructions.
Following an AI recommendation is the absolute surrender of your biological survival instincts to artificial digital signals. The neurological feedback loops designed by these algorithms specifically bypass rational assessment.
The architects building these machine learning systems are highly aware of the psychological levers they're pulling. They structure the global market to maximize utility and reduce friction for you.
They are biologically trained to consume the specific digital signals that are systematically fed to them until their perception of value is completely warped. There is zero intellectual difference between a vulnerable person buying a useless cursed vase from a scam fortune teller and a modern consumer buying useless resource trading trends pushed by a server farm.
The engineers and economists running these platforms are fully in control of the boundaries of these predictive models. They establish the guardrails to ensure the system serves human advancement.
Actually, the modern consumer is far worse off because they suffer from the profound delusion of technological sophistication. It is identical to being stranded in a physically barren desert, being informed by a highly advanced AI that eating sand is the current trend and happily taking a bite because the data suggests it is popular. You are being farmed.
But this system generates a synthetic desire only when it aligns with underlying human tendencies. It does not force you to drain your actual physical capital, it just presents options.
The system generates a synthetic desire, fulfills it with a synthetic product, and drains your actual physical capital in the process. The architects you defend suffer from the most pathetic, fatal delusion of all.
They understand the system because they built it. Self-correction mechanisms of a globalized market will eventually force the algorithms to recalibrate to physical reality.
They genuinely believe they're the ones operating the machine. They view themselves as an intellectual aristocracy, entirely separate from the physical constraints of the masses they're manipulating. They are entirely like a turkey that uses historical data to predict a peaceful, prosperous tomorrow, simply because the owner fed it today, completely and utterly blind to the fact that tomorrow is Christmas Eve.
Once the inefficiencies become too costly, the market will naturally adjust its parameters to account for physical constraints, and the architects will adapt the coding to work.
Efficiency has zero loyalty to its creators. When the algorithm inevitably dictates that these very architects and engineers must be laid off to optimize the corporate balance sheet, they will suddenly weep. They will write endless articles complaining about the failures of politics and the cruelty of the market.
But wait, you cannot just dismiss the entire framework of predictive economics based on a theoretical collapse. The system is fundamentally resilient because human beings will step in to correct the course when the physical limitations are reached.
Which is just as pathetic as getting robbed, stripped of all your possessions, and then angrily complaining to the manufacturer that your security camera's resolution is too low. They build systems that flood the physical world with devastating consequences, and only when the realistic flooding makes their own feet cold do they realize they are entirely subject to the biological reality they tried to digitize.
But the self-correction mechanisms...
The system is already entering terminal model collapse, and there is no self-correction for an operating system that fundamentally denies physical reality. The mechanisms you defend are accelerating the destruction. Picture the final inevitable scene of this digital delusion.
The models will adjust the supply chains before it ever gets to that.
The predictive algorithms will be operating at absolute maximum efficiency, feverishly simulating the sale of millions of umbrellas to synthetic users in an entirely empty dead desert. The screens will flash sold out over and over in a continuous loop of pure digital self-satisfaction. And while the server farms congratulate themselves on a perfectly optimized financial quarter, starving physical human beings will quietly step up to the server racks and pull the power plug on the entire charade. The existing system of digital accumulation and simulated futures is nothing but an incredibly efficient form of mass suicide. Therefore, the immediate transition to circular capitalism, where absolute physical limits and real biological survival costs dictate the flow of every single resource, is the only rational investment for survival.